Kimberly Olson here. Welcome back. I'm super excited to be with you guys today and share an amazing guest. You guys know I don't have guests on my show very much. So when I do, that should signal to you that I have brought somebody awesome to my audience, and that is Candice Dudley. So welcome on, Candice. I'm so excited to have you.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I just so much appreciate you having me on the show.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And we met through social media, which is what is so beautiful about what we do. And I had a chance to come onto your podcast and get to know you. And I was like, oh my gosh, please, will you come on mine? And you can tell everybody about podcasting and all the things that you've done. So we're going to dive into you guys out there, either getting your own podcast going or being able to get it to work. If you started one, you're not consistent, or maybe nobody's listening and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Right? We're going to get into that and more in this episode. But of course, since Candice, you might be new to some of my listeners or viewers, I would love for you to introduce yourself. So tell everybody a little bit about you, what you do in your background.
Sure. My background started back when I was teaching. I thought that was what I was going to do for life. I taught for 13 years. And the last 3 years, I had my babies, one after the other, 3 in a row. And it was then that I realized how tired and exhausted I was every single day after teaching. I didn't have time anymore to come home and take a nap and crash and zone out. I had, my babies to take care of. And I just knew at that moment things needed to change. So I dipped my toe into network marketing. It was a wellness community that I had joined. I'm not affiliated with it anymore, but that was like my gateway into entrepreneurship. Everyone has like a different jump, how they got into entrepreneurship. That would be mine. It taught me so much, pushed my comfort zone. Before that, it was just, very shy. I didn't share on social media, never dreamed of having a podcast, but one thing led to another. Lots of personal development as a focus in those groups that I started coaching and running my own accountability groups for other moms like me in looking to up their wellness and mindset work. So in that time frame, I also started my podcast. I thought I want to give my ladies in my group content, free mindset talk, mom things. So it's really vamped over the last 3.5 years to have more of an entrepreneurial and specific to podcasting and solopreneurs as a focus. But that was how I dipped my toe in. And then over the last 6 years, then the last 3 in teaching and 3 years out of teaching now, it's just been a series of following the next nudge, not knowing the whole picture why. Got a life coaching certification, a meditation and mindfulness coaching certification, just following my gut one after the other, knowing and hopefully trusting that the door would reveal itself, the next thing would reveal itself. And I guess that's basically how I got to where I am now. And that whole time podcasting was the thing that even through burnout, even through every pivot, and there were a lot of them, that was the part that I loved and I never quit on. And that's how it came to me that I realized in the last 1.5 years, like this is where my focus and helping people with this lies. So I help people with basically the whole podcast process, the setup, publishing, producing an episode, editing, and then my favorite is helping people land guesting spots on other podcasts.
Oh, yeah. And that's great too, because it can be a podcast exchange like what we did if you have one. But if for those of you that aren't ready to have your own podcast, or you're wondering, what are some things I can do to really build up my brand visibility, which is a core pillar of what I'm always teaching people, because without that brand visibility, how can you continue to grow? Is podcasts, going on other people's podcasts. I had such a leap in 2020 because I hired a podcast manager like you. Didn't know you at the time, or I would have hired you. And she booked me, she pitched me 25 times a month and booked me consistently one or two interviews a week. And I was getting on all of these shows with complementary industries. And it was such a great way to collaborate, get in front of new people. So I love that you mentioned that. Would you share with everyone what having a podcast has done for you and your clients, and why somebody would want to get into podcasting?
Yes. Why someone might want to get into podcasting is if you have a business, especially a service-based business or even digital products, this is a great spot for you to connect with people, share some of your expertise, position yourself as the expert, bring on new guests, build those connections, and just like you had mentioned, build that visibility, build that brand. And it's a great way to then, at the end of an episode or a specific topic of an episode, to pitch those things, or even a soft sell of, hey, if you need more info, like I have this guesting bundle, or start with this. It's just a really great way to serve your people right? We lead with that first. That's the biggest thing. But then also build your business at the same time.
Yeah. And I think when you're on a podcast, for some reason, it just creates authority. It's kind of like when you watch TV and you watch the news and you're like, yes, it's all true. And then later you're like, no, none of it is. But because it's on TV, it feels real and authoritative. And I feel like that the same thing happens with podcasting. It's very professional overall. I don't see, I'm sure there's stuff out there, but overall, it's like people who are podcasting are professionals typically, or, seen as experts. So it can be a really great way to like up your game. I also have noticed, and I'm sure you have demographic research on this because I don't remember, it's been a while, but those that listen to podcasts tend to be higher educated, higher incomes. And I feel like for people who listen to podcasts, they are typically people who are wanting to improve their personal development. And it sounds like that's kind of where you first started with helping those moms. And then obviously professional development too, which a lot of you listening are here because you want to build your businesses. So what have you noticed with the type of clients you've gotten from your podcast?
Well, I think when you're authentic in your sharing of who you are and just your mission in general and your business, then you draw in those aligned people. So mine are a lot of women, moms, especially mompreneurs, people trying to reach for something more than just that status quo. The name of my podcast is Better Brave. And so the theme behind that is living a little better than you were yesterday, being a little better than you were yesterday while living bravely outside of your comfort zone. That's like how I came up with the two words. And so, yeah, that's the type of person that I definitely connect with. Someone who is kind of kicking the norms of society, leaving 9-to-5s, creating and building something that works for them and their family usually.
Nice. I love that. And if somebody is listening or watching and they want to start a podcast, what are some of the things that they need to consider? Or I also think that the common objection is, who am I? Right. So they get in their head. And I know you're also big into mindset work as I am. And the other thing is I hear is, what would I talk about? So can you help us with these newbies out there who are contemplating podcasting, but have some obstacles?
Yes, those are all very common. And let's start with, who am I? Like, there is always someone that's going to know more than you. That's okay. As long as I think it's like 10% is what people say is a number more than the person you're helping. That's what you're there for. Those are the people you're serving. Keep that in mind. You aren't trying to get someone 10 steps ahead of you. You're trying to help someone get to where you are. That's why they're going to you. That's why you're the expert for that person and you're the perfect match for that person because you can relate to what they're doing. You're a step or two ahead. You can reach that arm back, bring them along, get them up to speed. And maybe they will pass you, but don't worry about that piece so much. And also, the part of running out of things to say, that's such a common one. And I don't know if I'll, have a plan or I don't know enough. Hit record on that first episode. You will learn so much more from that than you will from Google and all those things. When you dive into Google land and stuff like that in the beginning, it's going to seem like a different language. There are terms on there that I had no idea what it was. Intros, outros, RSS feeds, all these random things. Be on a need to know basis. And in the beginning, you do not need to know that. Do not overwhelm yourself with too much information. And don't let that be the thing that stops you from getting started. So in the beginning, I always tell people, just get a microphone. It doesn't need to be fancy. I have like a $40 microphone off of Amazon. It'll work just fine. No one's ever commented on my sound quality being, unlistenable or something like that. So get a mic, take it out of the box. Don't let it sit there. That's the other thing. Keep taking one step forward, one after the other, and then hit record. If you want to make a few notes, go ahead. If you want to just go when you're in that inspired vibe, I love that too. Your podcast will be however you want it to be. If you want it to be really authentic episodes where you're just vibing and sharing your heart, do that. If you want it to be very notes and planned, do that. There is no right or wrong. I'm a mix of both because I love both. So if I'm going to share something really specific, that's when I'm going to write some notes. That's when I'm going to make a little bit of a plan so I don't miss anything. Those moments though, where that inspiration strikes, lean into that, hit record, whether it's you have to send yourself a voice note on your phone, just lean into those times. And then after you've recorded, just pick a place that you're going to publish and and post your, upload your episode to. So that's a hosting platform. That's one thing that you can Google, but I use Buzzsprout. I've been happy with that. I know you use something else. There's lots of them out there.
Spotify who bought Anchor, so it's Anchor. But someone just brought up, what did you say, Buzzsprout?
Buzzsprout. Yep.
Oh, someone else said that on a Zoom recently. I was asking everybody. So Buzzsprout. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's lots of them out there, and just pick one. Don't you can change if you need to. It's not like a marriage for life. Like, to take some of the pressure off, but that's really all you need in the beginning. I would say, I know we talked about this when you were on my show, but you lean into just those basic things, that one thing, until that becomes easy. Now, if you want to start dabbling in editing, or if you want to add, an intro with some music, do that. But let's not worry about that in the very beginning. I didn't have any of that in the beginning. I didn't know how to edit those first few episodes. I didn't have an intro, all of those things. Don't let those things stop you. You don't need to fit the mold. Your people will love to see those first episodes, and then your growth to your 10th, 20th, 100th episode. And it'll also help them feel like they can do it. When people jump in at your episode 100, thinking that's how you sounded or that's how you started, that's what leaves us thinking like, I could never do that. So allowing them to see that like unfiltered path that you're going to take, that growth, I think gives your people, your clients, your potential clients, the confidence that they could also do what you do.
Yeah. My first episode, I just found myself, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it live because I was still working full time. I'm like, I'm going to do it live and then just take the audio. So I did. I said, I'm starting a podcast, but I'll be streaming live, which is a great way to make yourself do it because you got to follow up, right? And when I added it I used Audacity to edit it. I had added an intro thing, like you said. But when I went to publish it, it was horrific because the sound was, the intro was kind of quiet. And then it was like so loud that I didn't even know, because I'm one of those, when I post stuff, I don't like to watch it because I don't want to get my head like, to critiquing. So I just leave it, I put it out there. It's better to be done. And someone wrote a review and it was like really negative. I was like, oh, and I listened to it. I'm like, this is awful. And I had this moment of like, oh no, should I take it all down? Because I was only like 2 or 3 episodes in. I'm like, should I take it all down? Oh no. And I was like, no, I'm going to leave that episode up because that is proof that that's where I started. I sucked at it, but I kept going and I did 2 a week forever. We're back to 2 a week, but 1 a week is great. We can talk about frequency. So I wanted to share that with you guys because you are so right, Candice. Like episode 50, 100, whatever you're hearing, people you follow are on probably like 1,000 episodes. That's not how their first one was. If you scroll way back, you're going to get a very different experience. It's better to start, just do it versus sitting there and like worrying about it. When it comes to them leveraging this podcast, what are some things that they can do to market themselves, promote it, get people listening? Because I think sometimes too, people think kind of like a blog. If you do the blog, people will come, but it doesn't really work that way. What are some recommendations you have on them getting some listeners?
One is when you're planning out your title and your show notes and your episode titles and the name of your show, think about things that you would search for. If you have services, what are you searching for the kind of person that you are? Like if you're a coach, what are you typing into the search bar looking for? If you can incorporate some of those words, that's going to let people find you through searches easier. The other thing is to be consistent. That one is something I think people don't think about, but it builds so much trust. If your audience knows every Tuesday, that's part of their routine, that every Tuesday morning they can plug you in when they're having their morning coffee, doing their personal development, that builds trust. And if you have to do seasonal because you can't commit to a schedule like that, then just be upfront and say that. They want to know, like if you're taking a break, when are you coming back? And then follow up with that. I think the follow through and the consistency, that also shows that you have an authority, you are professional, you're going to be there. Who wants to hire someone for their services if they don't follow through and they don't show up,
They disappear. Yeah.
Right. The other thing to increase your visibility, we talked about it, guesting. That's an option and an awesome way to do a podcast swap, get on other people's shows that align with you, because then it's almost like a warm audience already because of how much you and that guest might align or connect. right now Threads is a very hopping place. I think that's how I found you. And that's just a great community, but find that social media presence, build an email list if that's something. But again, if it's in the beginning stages and that's overwhelming, add that later. But if you've been at it for a while and you don't have that yet, think about starting that. That way you can, get that episode out to, I don't like the word fan, but that's really like your super fans. If they're choosing to be on your email list, they love you. They want to know. They want to be the first to know when that episode drops. So making sure that you share it, post on your social medias, share with your email list, because like you said, if you just post on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or all the platforms, like people aren't coming. You need to invite them to come. You need to let them know you're there. So that would be the places I would start.
Awesome. That's great. And you focus on your mom of three, and you focus on working with those getting their podcasts going, but also solopreneurs, right?
Yeah.
And are you helping them like get organized and get some simple tools or systems in place, like their tech and all of that, right?
Yes, the setup is part of that, getting things to flow. So if you're ready for kind of all of it, I would help you get the technical pieces of your podcast set up, pick a platform and help you get that set up. And then the other pieces that come with is someone listens to an episode and they say, I want to be on your email list, or I want your free podcast setup guide, helping you create the systems where that can just happen for you. And those go in the show notes and you have the correct link that it's going to get people to where you say it's going to get them to, and then it gets delivered, whether you're using things like Flowdesk or StanStore, all those different pieces. That's just what happens when you build your own solopreneur business for the last 8 years. You just learn a lot of different skill sets. And I also love systems. In human design, I'm a projector. So I don't know if you know about that, but I like the behind the scenes work. I love to make things work efficiently. I love systems. So helping all that flow is kind of my jam.
That's cool. And so where could this fit into like their weekly schedule or production plan? So do you teach, or would you recommend that they record a podcast once a week and schedule it out a certain day and time? Or do you recommend that they batch record? How do you help them to get this to work into what they're already doing? Because I'm sure people are thinking, I really think a lot of people think this is very overwhelming to think about starting a podcast, or they're afraid of the commitment. Oh, and I want you to mention, explain seasons too, because I don't know if they know what that is.
Okay.
So what could this look like to work into like their ongoing schedule?
Right. I think this depends on how you work as a human being. I am best batching certain things because I feel like my energy really ebbs and flows. I have high energy weeks, low energy weeks. So I have to plan for those high energy weeks. That's when I want to record. That's when I want to have guests on and interview them. And I really want to hit that stuff hard. Those lower energy weeks is kind of the behind the scenes for me, where I will do the editing. I'll get the show notes written. I will schedule the episodes out for when I want them to air, that piece. But maybe you're someone who likes a weekly plan and you want to have Tuesdays as your recording day. I've guested on shows where they only have one day a week where they let you sign up for a recording because they only interview guests on Thursday afternoon. You can do that. There's no rules. So I think whatever fits your style of how you work. For me, it's batching and playing off of my energy. For other people, it's going to be just, this is the weekly plan and we record on Tuesdays. We do all the behind the scenes work on Thursday, and so on and so forth. But really learning and knowing your own self and how you work will go a long way in how you can keep consistent with it.
Yeah, absolutely. What are seasons versus going, week by week? And then also, can you talk about solo versus interviewing?
Yes. So seasons are, people utilize seasons for a variety of reasons. One being, let's say they know that they have time for the next 3 months to get episodes out. They're going to do like a 3-month long season, and then they might be taking a break because they know in the next 2 months they don't have the time. Sometimes it's for people who still have like a 9-to-5 job and they, go in different spurts of when they're available, when they're not. Or maybe it's for entrepreneurs, you're launching something really big, so you're not doing podcast episodes, and so you need that month off. So seasons will work great for you to be able to do that. Just the other way is just you consistently have an episode out on a specific day, or some people do them 2 days a week. Some people do like a bigger episode, like a longer, lengthy episode, 1 day a week, and then like a mini 5-minute one on Fridays. There's a no right or wrong way to do that. Very much whatever fits you. But I am a once a week episode, although I might be dabbling in the mini episodes too, because I feel like I have so many of those little bits to share at this moment in time. But you can adjust things as you go. Just communicate it, tell your audience what the plan is, and allow them to know so that they can show up with you. And then what was your second question?
Solo versus interviewing people.
Yeah. So solo episodes are awesome to position yourself, especially as the expert. I think I've heard different numbers of things like 2/3 of the time you want to be doing solo episodes if you are concerned about making sure you are the expert, positioned as the expert on a topic. I'm probably more 50-50. I really love having guests on and vibing with them, but that is maybe a number you can shoot for. What can happen is if you have tons and tons of guests on and you don't ever do solo episodes, people will think of you as someone who's really good at interviewing guests. And they might not think of you as, hey, she is the podcast setup, editing, and guesting person. You want them to think of you when they think of the thing you do. You don't want them to just think of you as, she's really great at interviewing people. Yes. Guest episodes, then when you bring a guest on, I know you feel the same way, but I feel there's abundance. So some gurus will tell you don't have guests on that have competing offers with you. I don't really believe in that. I don't think any of our offers can be exactly the same.
Yeah. And you're
people that vibe with me. Yeah, we're going to teach with different styles. Yeah. So, but yeah, have guests on that you like. You're going to get pitches the longer you're in podcasting. I get them every week. And, you can spot a copy paste and things a mile away. And sometimes it's a great pitch, but maybe they don't fit. Like you can just tell this isn't where my podcast is at. You're the boss in this case. So make sure that you don't just say yes to be nice. You can still be nice and say, hey, thank you so much for reaching out, but this is just not a fit right now. And I've never really had anybody get mad or do anything crazy. So don't think something wild is going to happen if you actually say no. But it's your show and your audience trusts you as the host to bring them people that you trust and that you are totally bought in with what they're doing and their message. So don't take it lightly and just let everyone come on your show. You get to be really selective. As a host, I like to usually reach out to people that I want to guest and just send them, invite them to do that. But people do that in a variety of ways. Some people I've seen post on social media and ask for guests. Careful with that because you could get an influx of thousands of people wanting to just be on your show. And then, maybe you don't have systems in place to handle that.
You can be specific. Like I have said, I'm looking for 6 or 7 figure earners, and it's, of course, people are qualified, in or out. So you can be specific too if you do post about that. Yes. What, didn't you say, I'm going to write it down. Didn't you say you have a pitching yourself freebie, or what do you have? I'm going to put that below.
Yeah. So I have a free podcast setup guide. It's my whole setup from ground zero to publishing your first episode. And it's in a PDF and it's all the things that I use. That's free. I have a little $7 guesting bundle. It has a media sheet template that's editable on there, a tracker so that you can, spend one day listening to shows, put the contact information down, and then maybe the next day you get your emails ready and things to send out, and you can kind of just track what's happening. Make sure that if you do book a call, do book an interview, that you then share those, share your episode and all of that stuff that follow through. So, and then just do's and don'ts and a checklist for your email that you would send. That's all in that one.
Oh, great. Okay. So if you're watching this or listening, we'll put that below the episode. Okay. The free podcast setup guide and the guesting bundle. And then what are your favorite platforms? If those are listening or watching and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to go follow Candice. Like, what are your favorite social media platforms for them to find you, and where can they find you?
Sure. Instagram and Threads at Candice Dudley. And then you can always go to my website, CandiceDudley.com. I have all of my resources and everything there. And then my podcast is Better Brave Solopreneur Business Systems.
Oh, okay. Solopreneur Business Systems. Okay. I'll have to get them from you and we'll have it below magically. Okay. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much because you really did like break it down. This is like a crash course on podcasting, you guys. Like this is so valuable. And as you guys can see, there wasn't any secret thing that she shared that doesn't allow any of you to move forward with this if you want to do it. If you're really serious about attracting high quality clients and really upping your social media presence, it is powerful to be a podcast host or hostess. So I really would encourage all of you guys to consider what she shared today and definitely like grab the stuff below because you can dig in more. So thank you so much, Candice, for sharing your knowledge and your time with us today. And you're awesome. And I'm just glad that we got to meet and that you could come.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And I just want to leave your listeners with the reminder that someone needs to hear from you. Someone needs to hear your story, your take on things. So just don't let those doubts, that inner mean girl, stop you. You totally got this.
Amen to that. Tell her to sit down. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Until next time, get lit in your business and set your soul on fire. We'll see you soon.